the things that makes the Holocaust unique amongst genocide, and I use unique for the lack of a better word, is the presence of reparations. In fact, Germany is still paying reparations. In 2023, it was decided that Germany would pay $1.4 billion over the course of the year to Holocaust survivors. Between 1945 and 2018, the German government paid 86 billion US dollars to Holocaust victims and their heirs. In fact, what was West Germany at the time paid Israel directly. This was in order to help them resettle Jewish refugees. The agreement was signed in September 1952, and over the course of 14 years, West Germany paid Israel around 714 million US dollars. Germany committed a genocide in Namibia between 1904 and 1908, which was essentially their practice run for what would later happen in the Holocaust. Germany agreed with the Namibian government that it would pay them 1.1 billion over 30 years, which, by the way, the German descendants of these colonizers still have a monopoly on the economy in Namibia. They still have a hold of the land. The communities in Namibia are in uproar because they want their land back, and they think that the reparations should be directly paid to them, which it should be. Let's not forget that Germany compensated both Israel and the heirs and the victims directly, but refuses to hand that wealth back over to the Namibian people. And it is in order to keep them in a cycle of poverty. If they gave those heirs what they deserved, they would then be able to start their own businesses. They would then be able to become economically independent. And that is a direct threat to white supremacy. And in Germany, it's very common to be taught about the Holocaust, but it's way rarer to be taught about what happened in Namibia and Germany's other colonies. However, despite the genocides that Europeans have committed globally, very rarely do any of those people receive compensation or reparations. And in fact, when they say that they deserve reparations, we have Europeans saying, but it wasn't my fault. It was my ancestors, not me. But they wouldn't say it to Holocaust survivors or victims. There is a belief that the pain inflicted on black and brown bodies is a given and a must. And I strongly do believe that Holocaust survivors and their heirs deserve compensation.
And if for some miracle they managed to pay Africans what they owe them, they were going to put a president in place. And then after putting a president in place, they're going to loot that very same money that they paid us through him. And then he gets to take away the blame for having to be the middleman. Meanwhile, when other Holocaust survivors were paid directly, we get to be paid via a government. Meanwhile, that they can loot the very same money, the same way they loot money through the private sector. And it's very shocking to me whenever I realize that people do not actually realize that this is just a game. They're playing with us. They do not want us to be self-sufficient. They loot through these politicians because these politicians seek to protect the interest. They are not corrupt. They are working for the system. And corruption is another way of them looting money. Meanwhile, in South Africa, corruption is corruption, because it's important that we say it that way, is rampant high. It is. And they're going to come a white man, apparently going to clean up corruption that's obviously in the higher ups. So how do you clean corruption in the lower ground when corruption is clearly in the higher ups? That's something I've always wanted to understand myself, but never, for some miracle, understand. And when I tell people that I don't want to live with you, I don't want to live with them, I actually mean it. I mean it sincerely, because I know what I'm dealing with, starting with the Boers.
In fact, Germany is still paying reparations. In 2023, it was decided that Germany would pay $1.4 billion over the course of the year to Holocaust survivors. Between 1945 and 2018, the German government paid 86 billion US dollars to Holocaust victims and their heirs.
Despite this, the Treaty of Vereeniging in May 1902 was a unique example of reparations in reverse. Britain paid £3 million for the war damage it had caused, and it did not impose taxes on the Boers to pay for the war. The £3 million was for the resettlement program and another £3 million in interest-free loans. Landowners were provided with implements and seeds to rebuild their farms. The £3 million that we are talking about, it is equivalent to £500 million in today's money. In pounds. You're not talking rands here. Use your brain to convert how much that is in our currency. The Dutch language was permitted in schools and law courts. Britain undertook to move from military to civil administration to self-government within the empire as soon as possible. That took place in 1907. Do you want to guess how much we got after 1994? When Mandela walked out of prison, the international banks handed him a bill for 11.3 billion. In 1996, South Africa paid an incredible 2.3 million in interest and debt repayments. The money was taken away from reconstruction. It was enough to give free health care to the entire population, build 300,000 new homes, and have money left over to build schools. These were also the countries that were under apartheid debts as well. Not only did we pay the debts that white people owed in this country because South Africa was bankrupt, we pay high interest rates. No one to this date ever spoke the word of reparations to black South Africans. For apartheid crimes that did not happen just to black South Africans. That is why we say politically illiterate people should not be allowed to vote. And that's if we're even going to vote. Because if it was up to me, everything will be dismantled. Everything to the ground. What can they do in the government, according to you? With the Dutch and Roman laws, with an economy under the private sector, controlled by white capital. They don't even have political power. They're just in government because at this point. So what can they do for our community, according to you? The people that are coming into South Africa to work illegally or apartheid debts, are solving problems created by your people. I mean, we are not destroying enough, according to me. If you're looking for comfort, this is not the page. I'm going to blame them until I die. I'm going to come back again and still blame them. You'll never feel comfortable around me. Never. Take the likes of you and Mandela to heaven. Here's the difference between you and me. I have no interest whatsoever in occupying white developed areas, mainly because I do not want to give them my money. The lesser I give them my hard-earned money, the better. The second reason is this: I do not care for white people. I care about the development of Africa for African people, reconstructing Africa to African standards. I don't care about inclusion. I care about effing up the white man's money. Because it is our hard-earned money that enables them to keep doing what they are doing to us. That's the difference between you and me. I ensure with my money that I utilize it less to the Western economy, starving the beast. You care about enabling the white man's economy, aka feeding him. And you know the reason you have chosen this path that will result in your kids drinking pee and trauma when they get out of those places. It has everything to do with your inflated ego that has already set Western people as the standards. Their language, their food, their education, their civilization, including their religion, and also the political stance of it. That's why you'd end up voting the DA, because you are so desperate on the inclusion and the Western acceptance, even it to the point of it driving you insane. So I have no empathy for such. You take your child to such institutions, you bear the consequences of those actions. That's simply how life works. Sorry, not sorry. So I'm not going to blame white people for that. You know what you're doing. Because since you're not concerned about developing Africa for Africans, you'll continue dealing with that. And my time is very precious. Because you're going to be continuously reminded that you are the dirt underneath the shoe they wear. Because it is your money that enables them to treat you that way. It speaks highly about how you feel about yourself as a black person. To the point where you give them money for them to treat you the way they treat you. It has nothing to do with them at this point. It has everything to do with you and how you feel about yourself as a black person. Because I have so much respect for myself. Hence, the less I give them my money, the better. Imagine if a lot of us did that.